a little behind, just had a few things finished taking care of while I could. Tonight, the wonderful world of Hinoki Cypress. Change something real quick about this. Quite sitting how I like it. There we go, much better. All right. We're going to prop that up just like so. There we go, a little bit better there. So, Hinoki Cypress is a fantastic species. Love working with it. Nice soft foliage. Everything about it is fantastic. Except for the fact that you have to stay on top of them or the dieback will get you every time. So be prepared to make sure that you're okay if there's a little bit of dieback on the interior. If you let it overcrowd, so you got to stay on top of pruning, clearing out unneeded foliage, or it's just going to start dying back. Seka Hinoki does the same thing. All that. So yeah, this stuff is kind of just pulling out from the inside. It's all dried up, but it's very sensitive to not getting light. So any of that interior foliage is going to dry right up. Got a few examples here. We're going to work on a couple of them. So I get carried away cleaning these out. Anyway, one I did not bring in is comes in just under 6 feet tall. So it's a nice big one. I'm going to be styling that maybe next weekend. But I'll create a whole video about it and everything, so you don't have to sit here and watch me go through this thing for like 3.5, 4 hours. Maybe longer, who knows. Anyway. Nice little Hinoki here. This is what we want them to look like. I mean, it's beautiful. And then we got a couple we can work on there. Aside from that, I got one more thing that I want to do that was requested in the comments of a previous video. So I'm going to hit on that first. So every time I prune, I don't know which branch to cut. So we're going to go through standard cleaning on bonsai in general. And I've brought a little Chinese elm so that y'all can see it. See exactly what's going on. Just used it for, oh, you're not going to be able to see a thing with this up here. There we go. Alright, I was using it for a demo for a little while, just to show examples of this very thing. So, generally when we clean, we want to remove any vertical growth, whether it's straight down or straight up, generally. Also anything that curves back around into the interior. Now a branch like this, here, let me get my hand in there. This one right here, it's coming back towards the apex, but it's forming part of that silhouette, right? Part of the canopy. It's not something down here growing into the tree. So that's something to consider. But you also want to consider that as far as when you're going to prune it, if it needs it, and well, when it needs it, I should say. That you're not pruning so that it's going to grow into the center. You don't want it to grow this direction. You want it to grow further out slowly over time. And then there's anything that's on the interior of a curve that's going to decrease the emphasis of the curve. Those are things that you want to get rid of. Sorry, I just saw a couple nubs, so I was going to get rid of those. And then as far as design wise, there's that's kind of your basic cleaning. So then as far as design goes, you're looking for a transition of taper from thick to thin as you go up in the tree and as you go out from the center of the tree. So those are the design portions as far as what you're looking to prune. The transition of taper, this is a really good branch, and I think it's close enough. It's the same thickness from here all the way out to the end. So this is the transition taper, and then you also want to prune for direction. So wherever I prune this branch, you can see there's an alternating bud structure. Boom, 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 boom. Rather than an opposing bud structure, which is like on Japanese maples where two buds come out the same spot, opposite of each other. This right here is a Chinese elm. So with that alternating bud structure, if I prune it here, interesting. I have to sharpen my tools. There we go, pruned it here. This bud right here at the end now is facing that direction. So the primary growth in that change of direction is going to go this way. This will emerge as well, and you'll get both of those. But if you're thinking further down the road is, as this branch progresses, it's going to start growing across the middle of the tree. For now, you know, that's not a, where's the front? This could be the front right here. So this branch would be coming up towards the front. May or may not be the direction you want it, but you can anticipate that, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to come in right here. And we're going to prune it back, right? So that same direction, but now as these grow out, it's going to go from from thick to thinner as it forks out to even thinner, and that's that ramification. This is a great example. If I prune this here, now the primary growth pattern and change of direction is going to go right over the top of this other branch. I don't want that. I want photosynthetic efficiency. I want it to move this way. So I'm actually going to cut it here. So now the primary growth is going to change direction. So we're going to get a neat zigzag, right? Emerging, going this way, then back down, then back up, then over, then that way again, right? So we're going to be moving all around. My whole collection. I've got about 600 or so trees in various stages of refinement, right? If you want to see a lot of the collection, definitely recommend you go over and check out our social media channels. We're going to start doing more of that for sure. I'm going to take off these really thick pieces up top as well. But I've got a couple, you know, examples of nicer trees here with me, so we'll get into that as well. I'm thinking we've got good bifurcation. I definitely want to take this off because it's sticking straight up, right? So we're getting rid of that. Think about taking that whole thing off. There we go. Now it's going to allow these pads to develop, and it was really thick the whole way down. So we wanted to remove that thickness that didn't fit with the rest of the tree. Here's some other portions right here. This is not the best time to be doing this. It's also not going to be the worst time to do it, so I'm not too concerned. If one major thing before we end here, as far as this portion is concerned, to answer those questions that were brought up. Anything that you want to get thicker, do not prune. So the question was, you know, I never know what to prune, so how do I do that? So we walked through the cleaning, we walked through pruning to style, etc. This back branch that is really low is thinner, even here, than a lot of these branches up top. If I want this to get thicker, I don't want to touch any of that growth. More foliage, a longer branch and more foliage means more photosynthesis, which means it's going to get thicker faster. So we are promoting growth by leaving the hormones in the tip of the tree. And that will call in all those growth hormones, and it will grow the tree in the direction that we want and the thickness that we want. So, and I didn't even look really at where the front is on this. I mean, I did a brief check just to make sure I wasn't describing things correctly, but I didn't really find the front of this tree. But just by doing those little checks and just cleaning this out in a proper manner, it's going to be a good tree. The only time we really need to make sure we're pruning exactly where we need to is when we're doing the design pruning decisions versus the cleaning pruning decisions. So there's that. By the way, wanting to show the collection, I'd be happy to. It is pitch dark out here, so to wander around in the dark with maybe with a flashlight or whatnot would be somewhat of a fool's errand. So maybe I'll hop on and do the live sometime randomly throughout the day, and we'll be able to do that a little better. But that's kind of a general pruning practices 101. Distinguish between cleaning versus design pruning, and then you work your way through it. We could probably shorten that one as well. I'll leave that for a future to decide. But knowing that is a good thing. Yeah, that thing's got to go. These are on the same silhouette right here. So we're going to take the thicker part and transition that taper from thick to thin right here. Oopsie daisy. So there you have it. Leaving stuff to grow and develop. Don't prune. Sorry, everything's kind of going batty on me today. It's been weird. Anyway, funky day. Well, doing bonsai now, so everything's right with the world. All right. So that's a little pruning tutorial as far as all that goes. If y'all have any questions like that, you can throw them in the comments. You can comment later as you're watching the videos or rewatching for clarity, clarification, anything like that. I'm more than happy to go through and address questions in videos. So, and then you can always, if you miss it, you know, live, you can always go back and check things out. So, all right. Chinese elm's gone. Nice little cleanup job on it. So we'll get to our Hinoki right now. See if we can lay this out a little bit. Oof. Here's the big guy. I may start with the little one to be sure, just because it's going to have a little bit of cleaning and whatnot to deal with as well. They seem to look all right, kind of naturally. They're kind of like procumbens. If you just prune them and stay on top of them, they're going to be fine. But a little bit of wiring can go a long way and really transform your Hinoki. So let's look at these. Yeah, let's do the smaller one first, I think. Yeah, it's already been cleaned out and everything. You're going to see the branch pad development. It's really going to transform. This one might look a little bit different. This other tree is going to look completely different. So let's do that. So we'll phase this guy out again. This little guy. Let's see if we can angle that. There we go. I'm going to switch where my tools are. Maybe we can get it just a little bit closer. There we go. All right. So this is a funky little tree, but it's chill, right? Nothing crazy. This actually just arrived today from a friend of mine. because I was planning on doing a unique Hinoki planting, and this kind of fit the bill, so we're looking at that to move forward in the spring. And I thought, you know what, let's try it out, let's play with it live and in living color. So we've got, this really is, I unboxed it and then I had a ton of stuff to get done, so this is really the first time I'm even looking at it for more than just seeing it, right? Don't have a front picked out. I mean, that's not bad. It's got good movement, it's got good base flare, nothing intrusive. I really like this base. There's a little bit of an imperfection here in the trunk, but it's not that big of a deal. It's probably where there was some wire previously. Yep, you can see that. It's going to curl up around it. This base is not as attractive, but it's not off-putting. It doesn't have a root here, so it makes it look like the tree's kind of floating, which can be tough when you have such a heavy canopy. So one thing about the Hinoki is they'll get these spots with 3 or 4 branches right there. So you have this one with a bar branch. This one's not as good of a branch as the other as far as options go, but it's also not a bar branch. So maybe we keep that one, get rid of this one, or maybe this one and this one go and we keep that one and we open this tree up a little bit. They are very flexible, which is nice, but they can just unsuspectingly just peel away, kind of like junipers do, just peel away from the main branch that they're coming off of. So you got to be aware and attentive. Trying to think about how we want this tree to look overall. So there's really not much to clean out either. Usually I start by cleaning, so all of this thought process is going on while I'm cleaning up, like I was with that L. So I'm just kind of walking you through. You can see also the trunk from here to here is fairly, there we go. It's bare from here to here. So it's straight, it's bare. We either need to cover it up or we need to lop it off. Maybe this is a new apex, but then you get the same problem. Some interesting movement all would be right in here and it wouldn't match with the trunk. Then you get movement, but these don't really back bud at all. So if I cut back to here, this is going to be branchless too, and it's the same problem we have right here. So I think we're just going to start wiring out some branching, and if we have to cut them off later, so be it. This one definitely needs to go. That's the only branch that I know needs to be gone. They do take to cuttings really well, by the way, so don't throw out your Hinoki. We're just going to start wiring this out, and this tree is going to tell us how it works. Maybe this one goes. That's the tightest one though, but again, it's a bar branch straight across, and that's the thing with Hinokis. But if we get rid of this one and this one stays, then we can keep this one. But these two being on the same side, and this one's in a much better position. So this is all your rear foliage, but I think we'll be okay. I think it's time we make some decisions in life. I'm seeing a much smaller tree than is here, as in this is going to be very proportional. I know this is on the inside of the curve, but this one's almost too much right on the elbow. You want them just a little bit. We can always get rid of this one later. They look good with a gin. They may or may not keep them all the time because they grow. I mean, naturally, they may or may not keep them all the time. But growing naturally in such a humid environment, it usually just rots away. So some people say, oh, gin looks great on Hinoki, but no shari. Some people say, no, you can't have gin on Hinoki. Just know why, be able to explain your reasoning. Even if it's your artistic, expression, that's fine, but have a reason that that's the way you expressed it, that in that manner, right? So, I'm not a huge fan of art for art's sake, as much as I enjoy it. Just saying that's my style is not my thing. So, an informed style is fantastic. But anyway, we won't get into that discussion. Well, it may get more people watching this thing, huh? Get everybody riled up about why you choose art and the aesthetics and what qualifies and quantifies as art versus not. I'm just clearing the bark off here. Sorry, going back and forth across that light is probably a pain. Used to have music playing during all these, so that if I got lost and was focusing on something, it wasn't just silent, but I kept getting dinged for copyright and this and that, even though I wasn't trying to do anything with it. So, cut the music. Let me cut it. Yeah, nice little gin there. Alright. Which means if we keep this one, we'll probably get rid of this one, which means we'll probably get rid of this one. See, look at that. Process of elimination. Not going to keep that gin. It's awkward. Sticking right out of the middle. We could keep this one. Let's try it. See what happens. Nope. Don't like it. Feels forced. And it'll gum up that turn there. So now if we do get rid of this in the future, look what we have in its place. Ta-da. Right, so if you just start nice and easy, take your time. We can't get rid of this one though. That is the only back branch we have. So this random little thing sticking out, it'll be easier to see. This guy right here, this little funky one right there. By the way it comes out of the branch right there, I'd get rid of it, but right now that'll be the only thing that comes in the back. So we'll see if something else can take its place. And I really want to do something nice with pulling these branches way down. So a lot of Hinoki I've done up and out, and they're very billowy. I want this to be almost like it's not supposed to be. I just want to pull it down like a spruce, things like that. So we're going to get on this wire. And we're going to mess this thing up. So these, I mean, we could get those down, but I think it would feel funky. I'd rather focus on getting these down, even if this is up, right? We pull in a bit of a twin trunk, but we don't want to make that slingshot. So in the future, we're looking at a little bit of a, yep. See, that's how flexible these things are. Yeah, we're going to pull these way down. Let's see if we can't do it. I mean, What else are we here for? To make bonsai trees. Okay. And if it looks bad, we'll just put it back where it goes. Ta-da. All right. So we got cooking here. The difficulty is a wire gauge this large on a tree that's I can feel is not very not very sturdily planted in its soil, or at least not tied down very well. But it's just a little flimsy in the root connection. You can see it. So you got to be careful, stabilize the base while you're moving this thing around. And then we're actually going to try and get a little bit of interest in the trunk. So instead of having this opposing wire strand go up a different branch, we are going to pull it up the trunk. See what we can get out of that. Sorry, there's that other wire that's already on there, so I'm trying to work with it. I don't know why there's one wire on this thing, but there is. Might be worth taking it off. Might be worth me re-braiding my wire to come in from a different angle. So that I can match up with it. Much less work. Go this way. Now the wires are matched up the way they're supposed to be, and I'll still get a good hold. Okay. Just a little funky right there. Here's what we'll do. And it's really going to help when we're wiring that though, so we're okay. We might need this in a minute. This one we definitely don't need. So we'll see what we're doing here. All right. We want everything like this one to come down and then fan this foliage out. And this one's over here, so we'll come right back. All right, look at those foliar pads. Golly. That's the one we're looking at right there. Just a beautiful fan. Just here, I'll show you with one of these. All right. And it just spreads out so nicely when you wire it. It's lovely. I mean, it's flat as can be, and they come up just slightly. If that's too thick, pull that back. Now you have a smaller pad, right? So it really lends itself to pad development. They look great, and they're just really, really pleasant trees to work with. Nothing's making you itch. Nothing's making you wish you hadn't done bonsai and picked a different hobby. And they're flexible. They do everything that you could ask from a tree as far as bonsai goes, and it is just fantastic to play with. Getting some of those interrupting pieces out of the way so they can grow into their own billowing up. Some of those things we talked about earlier with the elm definitely apply, because these have those same structures. Oh, look at that. There you go. nice foliar pad. Okay, we're going to get this out of the way, then this might shift to the right. But let's see what we can do. Remember, as always, while you're wiring, twist as you bend down. Sorry, I don't know. I don't know the question. Oh, hello. So if you twist, that kind of acts as the elbow. I think we're looking at this as the front, but we'll see. You put the branches where they go, and everything will work out. So let's see if we can get this down a little bit. There definitely will be directions that the branch is willing to move versus not. See, it's just starting to tear, so we're going to have to move on to the next spot to get these down. There we go. Put a little bit of cut paste there. It's just the bark was tearing a tad. Get a little cut paste on there, make sure that heals up nicely. Definitely want to give this winter protection because all these bends this time of year are going to make it a little bit sad. So the thing we have to look out for is this bend moved the foliage really far away from the tree. Right, now look at it, it was right here. Now it's way down here. Can we bring it back enough to make sure it still feels included in the design? Because a tree this thin, with a trunk this thin, you really don't want to have foliage pads way out to here because it just looks like a stick in a pot rather than a bonsai tree. You want to have everything nice and close. So maybe this wasn't the right direction for this branch, but I think we can make it look all right to develop into something that's, oh, it's still creaking. Trying to hold that spot in. There we go. There we go. And then we'll wire these all out. Got a bend out of it we wanted for sure. Get rid of this now, because this wire is way too heavy to actually do anything useful on that branch. It's more likely to break it, and it's hard to bend, so we can't get it exactly where we want it. So we're going to pull this one out right here. Go. You have to remember, the more severe the bend, the faster a tree will set into that shape. So you got to check on those heavy bends. You have to check the wire more regularly so that it doesn't bite in so severely, especially where you bent the branch, to make the bend useless, because now sometimes it'll grow around it so fast that getting the wire off kills the branch. So be aware, be alert. And remember, there's a top and a bottom to all this foliage, so we want to make sure this gets folded right back up where it belongs. these two together. About the same size. When you're wiring, you're always looking for things that are similar in diameter so that you can use the same piece of wire to anchor them to each other after going around. Sturdier piece, of course. I'm gonna go this way. Yep. Okay. Oh, hello. Thanks for saying hi. So this now, we want to bring right here. To fill in that negative space. And don't you worry, it's going to grow so nicely. There we go. And there we go. That one's got folded up in there. They're a little bit spastic right now, but we want to keep that foliage on there, not that piece. It's growing right out of the middle. Maybe that one's okay. You know what? We don't need it. All right, so nice foliar pads. Let those grow out. We'll tilt it up a little bit. Very nice, flat foliar pad developing there. This one's falling out of its little cage. Twist that up real quick. There we go. Gotta remember which way's up on these little things. I think we're all right. This one feels a little distant, doesn't it? Let's see what we can do. There we go. Let's see if we can face it. So from the top, now you can see exactly what it looks like, right? Just a fan and other fans, layers upon layers. Nothing overlapping really, right? Exterior layer or interior. These are going to get tight. And we're going to stair step up. Boop, boop, boop. But you can see right here, it's bare. So we need something, which is why we have this little guy to come along and fill that negative space in the back. Right? That's why you keep those things around. So let's see what we've got over. This pad is okay. I'm fine leaving that as is. Maybe pull one to the back, but for now, let's see. This one needs quite a bit of work. I don't mind that going up just a little bit because then it jogs down right here. So let's see how we can change and manipulate that. But if we go this way, we've got better back branching. We can get rid of this if this is our front. I don't mind that at all. Rotate those just a bit. Just the bottom one, not the top one. I like that front much better. The base is a little bit convoluted. You got a big root, but it's a nice spread. It gives you a better length on the Nabari there. And I think we could have fun with it. And I like the movement here. This side's got those potential scars, which makes that, well, they'll heal over fine, but there's a little bulge between the bite in. This side hides that. You have a little slight one right here at the top where this branch was removed. But otherwise, you've only got one instead of two, and the two is going to cause that bulge to continue to exacerbate, whereas this side is mostly hidden. I like the gin on this side as well. We could always remove it, of course, but I'm not worried about that. And we get rid of this flaw. And we can get rid of this. Because we don't need it as the only background branch. Trying to get rid of the whole branch without cutting into the trunk line. There we go. So it kept sliding off the end of the pruners. We got it figured out though. Now we'll wire this out, bring all of these down. How low can you go? We will not be messing with this portion though. It's too short to try and get any movement into. As far as dramatic movement like this, drop down. But all these are prime for the picking over here. So we will see what we can do. And pruning, I always start bottom up. Or, sorry, wiring, I always start bottom up. Pruning, I usually start top to bottom. Just one of those things. to go on the outside of that wire so that we don't run the risk of circulating that trunk and dealing damage to that. So I don't want to go under the wire, so I'm just going to go over it. Couple good wraps there. Standard Hinoki, these guys are not as sensitive as the second Hinoki. So if you're, I mean, you can break the foliage tips off, especially the tips, but if your hands are in there messing with the foliage, it's not going to be as dramatic and have all the dieback that you see with Secas and your standard Hinoki. Most of that dieback comes from not getting to it the right time of year, so definitely want to do that. I don't know if we got to keep that, at least for now. At least for now. That's going to bug me though. So having the tools in a different spot, the tree pulled up a little bit, kind of throws me off. I always have to double take where my tools are. See if that's as good. Now we're dealing with our symmetry issues, right? Which side do we pull in? Which side do we let linger in that length? It needs just a tad bit of wire to pull itself up. I'm thinking that it goes right there. Yeah. These pads billow quite nicely. Let's pull this side in. I like that a little bit better on this side. It's going to fill up this this curve. It's going to make it look much better. It's going to really push the tree that way by bringing this back around rather than having, you know, these two arms sticking out. It'll be good. So get there. It's a process. First time this tree's been styled at all. So, do what you can. What you got. Most of bonsai is about the time that's going to turn into something more. I always got to be thinking about the future. What's this going to grow into, right? Yeah, it's sparse now, but in a handful of years, with the right branch placement, you go from that to that, right? So that's the goal. That's what it always starts out as, right? Before you get there. No, not a Chinese pine. It's a Hinoki cypress. So it's Cypress obtusa. Let's see what we got from the front view. Let's fill that in. Drop that down. One thing we want to do is take up any negative space where you just see right through the tree. And again, these naturally kind of billow up, so if we take them down below to make sure they cover the lower spots. All right, there we go. All right, that's what we're looking at. So now we got to bring this down. Everything else is going to flow down. I think we're going to get rid of the long one. Oof, maybe. Yeah, if we're shortening this side, this long one's really going to present more issues than it does complements. So we've got bifurcation here and here. We don't really need that one. Thank you very much. Rather different perspective than the other comment that just came across. All right, let's see what we got. So these are on the same plane, which is kind of a drawback right now. We need to drop one side down. Maybe it's this side. It's got a little more give to it. And we'll pull this side up just a bit. You don't have to do everything with the same area of the tree, right? If there needs to be a difference or a distinction, pull one down a little, pull the other one up a little. You don't have to make one thing do the whole progression. If you try to, then a lot of times you'll lose some of the interest, little by little. All right, so this one came up a bit, that one went down a little bit, and we'll grow into that difference in shape. So with this long portion right here, we're going to want to take away from that length. So we want to start collapsing the canopy around that long neck, um, across that long neck, so that we can start closing in the canopy and take away from that length that's so obtrusive, unattractive. I don't know. A lot of different words to describe it. Zelkova, yes, I have a handful of Zelkova. Great trees to work with. Not my favorite species, but definitely a nice classic species that's gonna give you some good solid material to play with and work with, for sure. There we go. So in the future, what we want is we want to let this keep growing and growing, and then we'll keep this trained back. Right now they're on the same plane. We want to keep this maintained and let this grow just a little bit. Maybe we can take some more of that length out, move it forward a tad. You want to make sure that all the movement is not out at the ends. Where, so one thing that I like to do is my first movement in wiring should be away from where I want the branch to be before I wind the rest back. Because if I put the branch, the foliage where I want it to be with my first movement, then I have this whole rest of this branch to figure out what to do with, and you end up just snaking it around. But if that first initial movement here is, if I want the foliage here, I'm going to push that branch that direction first before I bring it back around. Fan all this foliage out from this wire. There we go. Make it look nicer. Make the tree happier. I want our trees to be happy. This little depth right there is really interesting. You know, maybe that goes away eventually. Could be. Could be. We'll see. No need to mess with it right now, but feels a nice spot. I'm going to put some wire on it and bring it up right there where it goes. This one and this one. Favorite bonsai that you have? My favorite right now, within reach. Oh man, my favorite tree. Oops, gotta go around. Give me just a second to think about that, and I'll get you a good one. I mean, right now, since I'm working on Hinoki, I've got one right here that's so nice. Oh, it won't take me long. Give me just 1 second, and I'll go get one of my favorites. I primarily do deciduous, but I've been getting into junipers quite a bit lately, and I've got one that I love. So I'll bring a conifer and deciduous that are kind of my favorites from my collection, and we'll show those to you. It won't take long. Let me finish wiring these two branches real quick. Juniper's all-time favorite, huh? So I'm from East Tennessee originally. So I got into bonsai because I love deciduous trees. And so working with conifers is something new. Not new. I mean, I've been doing this 15 years. So it's not new, but it's, it's not where my passion originally lie with bonsai. So it took me something to kind of get the aesthetic for them, get the feel for them, figure out the nuance. Oh, that's so much better. Yeah. So don't get me wrong. I love my conifers. But a deciduous tree is something else. All my maples, it rained. They just lost their leaves. Or else I'd go grab a couple of those. This. Right there. It's wild what the camera does. This is full of foliage right here. But when it's this flat foliage, you can't see most of it because it's so flat. I'll give you a top-down view when we're all done with it, and it'll be a much neater perspective on it. There we go. We may need that in the future. We'll see. Back to this already wired branch. All right, I told you I'd go get those trees, so let me go get those trees. Liverpool, UK. Grew up in Japan. Oh, nice. Yeah, I mean, there's some amazingly old trees in Japan. That's for certain. What a great opportunity to live there. And I did my apprenticeship and everything in South Korea. I lived there for about 5 years cumulatively, and it's been great to have that experience, be able to get to go back. Lived there with my family when we had with 3 kids at the time. So my wife and I moved to Korea for a while with the kids when they were little. It's in a bad spot, but it's the best light. It was always a great opportunity for young people to get to live overseas. Wherever that may be. All right, sorry. Let me go grab those trees real quick. This last little bit won't take too long, so we'll do a little intermission. If you don't enjoy it, sorry. I'll be back in 2 shakes. I will share this little guy. This is, I mean, right now this Hinoki is just splendid. Great tree. Love it. Yeah, either way, but that's it. Let me go grab my to Korean hornbeam, and then I'll grab my favorite juniper right now. Be right back. All right, I made it without too much trouble. I'll set this off to the side real quick so I'm going to set these down. That's one of my favorites, Korean hornbeam. About 50 years old. I've had it for a little while. Getting this nice red in the fall. They primarily turn yellow. This one's got a great red hue to it. So it kind of sets it off with that golden pot. Really, really nice. And it's, you know, this is one that'll stay with me for a long time. Having done all my, well, most of my bonsai work in Korea and lived there for so long and whatnot. So Korean hornbeam. And this is Carpinus coreana, not Turksovizii, or however we say that. So it's a very good classic tree. Good friend of mine, Byron Myrick, made the pot, so it's a nice pairing, very special. And my favorite juniper right now, I have an old Colorado blue spruce. It's like estimated at 107, collected from the Rocky Mountains. But I'm not, it's planted on a rock. You can check it out on my website, but I'm not hauling that thing in here. But this is a fun, it's actually in another Myrick pot. It's really fun. My favorite juniper right now, since you like junipers. Very evenly canopied. I think there's only two wires and then a guy wire on the back there to pull that back branch down. It had a little bit of foliage coming off this way. You can see that little tiny gin right there, but I posted some before and afters, but it was a more even silhouette, so I pulled these branches down on this side, and then I removed one of those to kind of push the tree this way a little more asymmetry. So as you can tell already, it's much more vigorous, has much more vigorous growth here at the top. So we're gonna have to prune that back a little bit, not touch this lower stuff to really make sure it gets a nice full canopy on it. But solid tree, solid tree. Oh, thank you. Yeah, I mean, you do it long enough, your trees are going to work out, man. And then there's stuff like this too, all right? But whatever sits on your table, give it your best shot. Work on it your best. Keep with it year after year. Sometimes forget about it, and then it'll surprise you. So yeah, we're going to finish out this apex, and we'll decide if we want it to move. It's kind of interesting. The trunk is moving this direction, but then the defining branch, the longest branch, is going the opposite way. So we can have this come back, face this direction, or turn the apex to move in the direction of the defining branch. So it'll be interesting to see how this little tree works out with that. But once it's full, I mean, this canopy is going to be great. Pull these down, pull this over. Let's see what we got. Let's see what we got. Bum, 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 bum. So all this growth up top is so long, which we can use to our advantage because we can put things where we want them to be. But also we really have to manage the growth, because if this stays really heavily foliated, this stuff is not going to be as advantageous to the tree down here, and it's going to start dying off. So we got to consider that too. The fall is about management of the photosynthetic efficiency and foliar mass. So you really got to be looking out for how much energy is coming from where and going to where. I really don't want that branch at all. All right, we've got this guy. It's in a prime spot. So at the apex, this side is much more conducive to forming a front of an apex, but I think we can make it work on the other side. I think we got what it takes. The more I look at it, it's a lot to remove. And it's going to look scraggly, but it'll be all right. Okay. It's going to fit with the rest of the tree now, right? All that energy's not flowing up right to the top, because this wants to be a giant tree. Pull that down. Pull this down. go. That is lovely. Cover that back branch. Remember, can't let people just see right through the tree. The tree has to narrate the viewer's eyes all the way up. Look here, look here, look here, look here. See the tree, not see through the tree. There we go. It gets tricky up in these areas because the branches sometimes are so thin they just as soon break than bend. Kind of counterintuitive. It's hard to bend as they thicken, but at a certain point it's easier to bend them when they're a little bit thicker. That makes sense. It's the same for oak trees as well. We're going to drop this thing right down there. We're going to tighten all these up just a tad. Pull this guy back down. We are right on the cusp. I'm going to pull that down as well. 1, 2. Let's get these two out of the way. That. Oh, we're getting there, all right. This we just want to drop down. Yep. Pull this guy over. I'm going to leave this back where it is. It's a bit spastic. We can maintain it a bit. But the trouble is it's such a short branch coming off that main area that trying to bend it, it would just snap right off. But taming it will allow us to manipulate it a little easier in the future. So we'll tame that. We'll get these two on board. Now the question is, do we lean that way? Do we come back this way with the apex? I think it's got to move this way with the trunk line. To move this way would take all the fun out of it. It's got to come back this way. Okay. Tricky spot to wire down here. Everything else being recently wired, I have to hold it all into place while I'm wiring this, or my hands are going to bump everything so that it all moves and I have to rewire it all. Some people will just go in and apply all the wire before they bend it, but sometimes I'll do a couple wires at the same time before I bend any of them, but usually not. If I have to go back through things every once in a while, it's not a total loss. We'll see how this apex works out. Okay. Let's make an apex. Remember, always away from where you want it to end up first. And then back the other way. Oh golly, these are not going to cooperate very well. There we go. But the advantage of a conifer is you can cover up all the funky stuff with foliage. Aha, that's what we need to get rid of. One of the things we need to get rid of, I should say. There we go. Then we'll have this down. And then bring it flatten out over the top and bring it back over the direction we want it. There you have it. There you go. Day's good. Thanks. How you doing? Just finished styling this out. The video will probably be up another day. I'll make something out of it, but that's it from the top. And I told you it would be a big difference to see it from the top. Almost more from the front. Thank you. So that's going to turn into something really, really nice. I'm really excited for it. Thanks for tuning in. Of course, right as things kind of chime out, I may be able to work on something else here if anybody's going to stick around. So we talked a little bit about pruning stuff. Talked a little bit about this guy right here. That's the goal, right, with Hinoki. That's where we started with, right? That's the first iteration of a Cypress. Just let it grow out, maintain that foliage, keep going. Just play the game, use the time, keep training it. Was it an hour and a half? Hour and a half is usually about my limit. I don't know about y'all. I got to do You remember today? Yeah, right. If you're going to stick around, I'll do more. I got one more Hinoki that I'll work on just a little bit longer here, if you're up for it. That was 11. Yeah, I got a little bit of time left. But really excited about this fun little tree. Again, the top's where it's at. This was kind of a neglected and dejected tree. Sorry, it's going to be loud for just a second. From yesteryear. Really fun. Kabudachi style, right? The big clump. Did some branch selection, but they don't back bud, so it was, how do we handle this thing? Right? With these branches, and I thought, keep as much as you can. And let's just start pruning it back to that's really bugging me as far as but it's nice to see up. It's funky. Anyway, sorry, I gotta pick up the brightness. There we go. It's gonna be just a glare over there, isn't it? Dun, 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 dun. Here, let's rotate that one. Get us something more in the front. That's better. If it'll stay. There we go. Ooh, looky there. That's some light. All right. So what I'm looking at here is just trying to prune back to shape to really push those areas that are going to back bud. So we like the general shape. We could put some wire on it, which maybe we'll do it another time, but right now it's just, let's keep whatever tight shape we can to keep this thing from really taking off on us and losing what we salvaged last year. don't know if I like this, but it's one of the few branches up front with interesting movement in it. Same with this. That's a really thick branch, and it's nice that it's thick down low. Luckily they are flexible, so we can move them around a bit. Let's see what we can do if we take this off. We're going to chase these thicker areas back. Keep it going. One good way to make sure you're pruning the right portion is if you have a long one, long frond, and you grab the end and you pick it up, you'll see where it splits, and you can take that off. So you can take the long growth out but leave the rest of the nice pad. It's really handy. That one I can see right there. This is where we'll do the most interesting transformation, really. So how much of this apex are we keeping? And how can we use it to our advantage? Oh, you're good, man. Yeah, I'm just going to be pruning on this one. So